Greek mythology is not always accurate. Many poets and writers of ancient times told the same myths, and because of that, some stories have different versions, but we can't accept lies, can we? Today, we are going to talk about some of these lies, which have been popular after showing up in movies in a sensationalist way, or simply because they derive from wrong interpretations that ultimately distort the essence of Greek mythology. Hades is an evil god. This is one of the great lies, believed by many. Hades is often associated with evilness. After all, he is the god of the underworld, and nobody wanted to know him personally. But why wasn't he considered a villain? That's easy. Hades was always under the command of Zeus, never rebelled against him, and never had the ambition to take his place. Quite the opposite, Hades played an important role in the battle against the Titans, helping the other gods to attain glory and rule of Olympus. While Zeus reigned in heaven, Hades had the underworld under his belt. He was known to be a righteous god and was benevolent on several occasions. It's a little bit different compared to Christianity, where we have two completely opposite figures. So, Hades never had an evil essence, he was simply the god of the underworld. Perseus rode Pegasus. By mistake, the first version of the 1981 movie Clash of the Titans portrayed the hero Perseus riding Pegasus after killing Medusa, and so he managed to save Andromeda from claws of the great sea monster. Since this is an old movie, and at the time access to information was very limited, and also because it's a symbolic depiction, even today there are people who think that this is true. We must clarify that it isn't true. Perseus flew over Ethiopia, equipped with Hermes' winged sandals. Pegasus in turn was solely ridden by Bellerophon in the battle against Chimera. Aphrodite was sweet and gentle. Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty, but that doesn't mean that she is an example of gentleness. She was certainly gracious, but she was temperamental and vengeful when needed. In several myths, she punished gods and mortals due to her envy, indifference to love, or because people did not accomplish what they had promised her. In the myth of Psyche, Aphrodite, jealous of the damsel's beauty, asked Eros to hit her with an arrow so that she would fall in love with the monster. When Helios, the sun, spread the news of her adultery with Ares, the goddess forced him to fall in love with a mortal being, killing her with his heat, making him feel an eternal sorrow. In another episode, he forced Helen to fall in love with the Trojan Paris after Menelaus failed to accomplish a promise where he would sacrifice 100 heads of cattle, hence starting the Trojan War. Every love story ends in tragedy. Indeed, Greek mythology is filled with tragic love stories like Paramus and Thisbe, Orpheus and Eurydice, Oedipus and Jocasta. But we consider that this is one of the great lies told about Greek myths. What can we say about Penelope of Ithaca, who even threatened to be killed, managed to deceive her claimants until Ulysses returned from the Trojan War after 20 years, and Eros and Psyche, who despite many adversities, became inseparable in a depiction of eternal love. Athena had no children. Another of the major lies that people say about Greek mythology is that of Athena, that the virgin goddess had no children, but in truth, she had one son with Hephaestus called Erichthonius. Hephaestus imposed his love with brutality against the goddess of wisdom. He grabbed her by force and poured his seed on her leg without consummating the sexual act. The divine seed dripped off, and when it touched the ground, Erichthonius was born, a half-human, half-serpent baby. Andromeda was almost devoured by the Kraken. We always hear people saying that the Kraken invaded Ethiopia, and Cepheus offered his daughter Andromeda to the creature to calm it down until Perseus appeared to save her. But few people know that the Kraken did not even exist in Greek mythology. The creature is actually part of Norse folklore. The correct thing to say is that the sea monster Ceto was the one who sent by Poseidon, after Cassiopeia, Cepheus' wife, stated that Andromeda was more beautiful than the Nereids. Ceto is often associated with the great whale, while the Kraken is depicted as a giant squid. Helen was abducted by Paris. This is yet another lie told by Greek mythology. Paris went to Sparta for diplomatic issues, where he ended up meeting Helen, who unhappily lived beside the brutish and arranged husband, King Menelaus. with a beautiful hint of magic from Aphrodite, Helen ended up falling in love with the Trojan prince, who could not resist the charms of the most beautiful woman in the world, and so they fled to Troy. So Helen was never abducted. She willingly set sail, pursuing her own happiness.